point where chips are being used, certainly within other species. Dogs, if you've got a dog, you may have a chip in your dog, but already chips within humans is not just a technical possibility, but a social reality. It's already taken place. I think that there are different ways in which we can articulate this era. This image conveys in part the absence of humanity from a practice like tennis or whatever sport is being played here. It suggests a world where in fact humans are absent. I think that this is misleading. If anyone ever watched this series Robot Wars, you can know that there's something very different about that compared to a sports activity. So again, how might we think, or how should we think about the transformation of something like sport via technology in a way that doesn't involve the absence of humanity? The word just cut off the edge here is singularity. And the singularity describes this point in time where computers will become smarter than people. And we've already seen the playing out of that battleground, if you like, within such cultural texts as the chess competition between Kasparov and Deep Blue in 1997, in which Kasparov, the Grand Master of chess, lost. And if you watch this wonderful documentary called Game Over about that era, Kasparov, the chess master, talks about the kind of ghost in the machine that he felt was present within the computer he was playing. He could not believe that this was played by a computer, in fact. He felt there had to be some human element present within this. But this period at which computers have become smarter or more capable than humans is steadily approaching. Some people believe it's 20 years, others more conservatively say 50 years. But again, how does this shift our sense of reality? In the same way, how are other transformations within our social, cultural and leisure sphere affecting our perceptions of the world? I spoke at the International Astronautical Federation Congress last year, and at the you go to a big conference, there's a trade fair. There is no greater trade fair than a space industry trade fair. The amount of gadgets they have, the kinds of plans they've developed. Virgin Galactic was there talking about its plans. And of course, we're at a point where even the Osborns go up into a zero-G simulator as part of a television program. The fact that these are part of television programs, the fact that these innovations are now a reality of our everyday lives potentially, and again, no more in cost than a television, and certainly much less of a cost than a car, force us to reconsider how we think about our place in the world, or indeed the universe. Another example of artists that are doing this is Eduardo Cac's Alba, the fluorescent bunny. I think Eduardo Cac is one example of an artist that tries to reveal what's already happening within science in a new context in order to shed light on both what we don't know but also what's at stake. How do we feel about a fluorescent bunny? Do we feel this kind of use of transgenic technology is something that we would be happy to accept? Could you envisage your child wanting one? How is this very... Say it again? Say it again?
You said quite utilitarian, in a utilitarian way, and I was thinking the same thing. If you would see it, you were a driver of a car. Yeah.
There we go. Well, I think the point of the artifact, the point of the life, if you like, is precisely because it raises those sorts of questions. We could see these things instrumentally. We could see them as a way of making better other parts of our society. Other examples, just whilst we're on this one, another story broke again for the sort of fifth or sixth time a couple of weeks ago about in vitro meat. Did anyone see information about this? So meat that is cultivated in vitro and hopefully, I don't know whether it's hopefully, but potentially developed into a form that we could consume. And you'll be aware also that the Chief Scientific Officer a few weeks ago said that 51% of the carbon gases are coming from livestock. So there might be a moral, or indeed a health imperative, to ensure that we reduce the amount of livestock in the world, potentially, if we want to eat meat, grow it without a life having to be involved. animal rights activists are wholly in favour of this, as you can imagine. There's no life to be lost or indeed harmed if we do it this way. Is this something that concerns us? What does it sound like? Does it just sound a bit yucky? And in fact, I think the actual current stage of it was pretty gross. I mean, it's worse than the Tesco value brand. It really didn't look very nice at all.
Yeah, not exactly.
So it's not very appetising, but one may argue that if we really want to attend to climate change, then we have to cut out all the livestock. And then if you want to eat meat, then maybe cultivating it in vitro
but
is...
there are problems with in vitro anyway, aren't there?
Say it again?
There are problems with in
Oh,
vitro
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
There is only one human culture that can actually be grown at present from one person, I believe.
Yeah.
You cannot just take anybody's
No,
genetic structure and regrow it.
No.
So how would you do it on the meat basis because you're in the same problem?
You mean in terms of growing it to become alive?
Yeah, or to develop other tissue. I mean, you'd be in exactly the same situation with an animal tissue.
Except there's no life involved, there's no life that will be harmed. That's one potential benefit, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think it tastes good.
Well, that's another matter entirely. Taste is a very interesting concept in all of these discussions, because I think, again, one might argue that the taste of vegetables in Tesco aren't that great, certainly compared to vegetables in Spain or something. These questions of taste, whether taste is something that we inherently find troubling, or whether it's simply a product of learning and cultural acceptance that we would get used to something that's disgusting, is... some would argue we're already there. I mean, we've already got used to quite a lot of disgusting food. So really, to get to a point of wrapping this up, what I want to conclude by arguing is that all of these conversations are intimately connected. The conversations about biological transformations are intimately connected to the digital media sphere. They're played out in the media sphere. The moral landscape is constituted by them. I think you can see that clearly around the climate change debate this week, where, I don't know if you've watched News 24 very much, BBC News 24, but over the weekend they were playing the same loop every 15 minutes about the climate change conference, seemingly all weekend. And so what one can't do when trying to have these debates, it's very tempting for academics to say, well, this is a philosophical debate, an ethical debate, a political debate, it happens within that sphere. But in fact, the landscape is constituted by this mediatized environment. A couple of examples I want to finish on. One is the Great Donor Show.
She's terminally ill, and she wants, by life, while living, to give away one of her kidneys, which is something that is generally accepted by the medical world. But she's going to do it in a live show, and she's going to give it to 1 in 3 people who are going to be there, our contestants.
Have you heard about this? It's the big rage in Europe right now. The Big Donor Show. It airs on Dutch TV tomorrow. Now, the reality TV show features 3 contestants desperately vying for a single human kidney. That's raising all types of ethical questions and outrage. But my next guest says that you should be able to give away your kidney, or even sell it for that matter, to the highest bidder. She is Sigrid Freire. I probably trashed her name. I apologize for that. She's with the Cato Institute. But Christine O'Donnell disagrees. She is president of the Faith and Flag Alliance. So, Sigrid, you say your kidney, your choice, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a win-win situation. Someone is going to get their life saved. There are 7 people every day who die on the waiting list. And someone's going to get compensated for doing a good thing.
Christine?
The human body should never be a commodity. Neil, we should never hear you report whether human organs rose or fell on the NASDAQ today, and that's what this does. Now, I'm not saying that, there isn't a great need for organs out there, but we need to leave it in the hands of the medical profession, not game show hosts. This television show is exploiting people's desperation, and it's a tragedy.
You know, Sigrid, the one thing that worries me about the message being sent here is that it does cheapen the human body and treat it as entertainment to sell a desperately needed organ to someone who might die otherwise. Is that the message you want to be sending?
Well, it might be a tactless show, but if people